Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yang berhormat Menteri, yang berhormat Datuk Reda, Sir. Untuk pengetahuan yang berhormat Menteri, kebanyakan waktunya Johor is being left out. Yeah. It's always Kuala Lumpur, it's always Penang, it's always Negeri Sembilan, it's always Melaka. Yeah. What is the plan that is being implemented currently? Because looking at the situation, our infrastructure is not getting any better. And population-wise, Johor is always being left out with only 1.9 million population compared to Kuala Lumpur, which is 13 million. Yeah. So our PPP, purchasing power parity, is not as strong as Kuala Lumpur. Yeah. And making things worse, looking at the situation where we have to embrace the 3.5 to $1 purchasing. Our competition is very simple. Yang berhormat Menteri, saya daripada Pelabuhan Tanjung Pelepas. Our competition is not West Port, North Port, Penang Port. Our competition directly is Singapore Port. Now looking at the situation, Singapore punya economy, 43% of the economy of the country, which is one of the richest state in the world, is based on port. The whole country is actually a free zone. Yeah. And what is the economic sense that you want
can we expedite so that there are more?
I understand where you're coming from, sir. What is our movement RMK12 in terms of bringing in the infrastructure to evolve, to make us better compared to Port Klang, compared to make Johor better? I don't see any changes for the past 8 years, sir. Thank you.
A few more questions. Okay.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. YB Menteri, saya ada yang pertamanya, Singapura memanglah tinggi, pendapatan, teknologi tinggi, skill pun tinggi banding dengan Johor. Cuma di Johor ni 20 tahun kebelakangan ni saya tengok dari segi talent kita masih jauh dengan Singapura juga. Dan di Johor ni ada satu pusat dipanggil Puspastri yang dipunyai oleh Johor Corporation. Jadi saya fikir Johor Corporation dah buat banyak kerja 30 tahun. Yang akan datang ni untuk alignment Rancangan Malaysia ke-12 ni, kita harap Puspastri yang dipunyai oleh Johor Corporation tu di restructure.
Apa dia? Food?
Puspastri.
Puspastri, which is? I see.
Yang dipunyai oleh Johor Corporation tu di restructure, diperbaiki dan dilibatkan syarikat-syarikat ataupun trade association atau industry association untuk participate. Maknanya training macam Finance Skill Development Corporation ke, Finance Skill Development Center ke, ataupun macam Selangor Development Human Resource Center. Jadi itu perlu restructuring supaya talent kita meningkat tak jauh sangat dengan Singapura. Kemudian yang keduanya, dalam Rancangan Malaysia ke-12 ni, salah satu elemennya ialah Integrated Water Resource Management. Dan Integrated Water Resource Management tu is surface and subsurface, and then to basin area. Kemudian tu diperkukuhkan lagi dengan transformation water sector. Jadi dua-dua ni saya rasa crucial, terutama sekali dalam keadaan banjir yang hebat, kemudian dengan kepanasan yang hebat. Jadi penelitian dan juga kedetailan kedua-dua proses tu harus juga dilibatkan stakeholder supaya first thing right at the first time. Do it right at the first time. Thank you very much.
Maybe another question ke before I jawab for the first round?
Minister Economy, I think that is we must focus what's the niche of Johor. The problem is Johor government has a lot of agency, but all the agencies are very bureaucratic. They are not actually interested in the economy. I'm from the SME. Whenever we want to approach the agency for economy, nobody know how to guide you. Nobody will give you the answer. I don't know, Minister of Economy, you are not like Singapore. Right from office boy to the top, everybody understand economy. Here, Johor, you got a lot of policy, but the implementation is go all haywire. So people like SME like us, I want to approach the agency. You have idea, have business, $1 billion idea, but they are not interested. They're only interested in FDI. That's why the niche area we have, we don't know how to tackle the agriculture, which is Singapore need very badly. We can do it. We got plenty of land. Why government don't implement? Why don't give land to us? We want to lease. Tak boleh. Please look into it. The niche point of Johor that we have the Singapore need. Alright.
Okay, maybe I answer dulu the first round kan. So the first question tadi pasal ports. Johor actually received one of the highest federal allocations every year. Last year 4.5 billion. So if you compare to per capita lah, maksudnya compare dengan how much federal allocation by the number of population outside negeri-negeri paling miskin, which is Kelantan, Terengganu, Kedah, Sabah, Sarawak, Johor is actually I think the highest. So it's not true kalau nak kata compare dengan Selangor, Pulau Pinang. The difference is this: Selangor, Penang, and KL being the center of industry all those years, they were the beneficiary of earlier investments. But in terms of the focus now, Johor actually gets a lot more, and the next few years of big investments pun either public or private, Johor always get more. And I've explained kepada tadi Menteri Besar Penada, Datuk Ridha Penada, dan juga pimpinan penjawat awam Kerajaan Negeri, it's not so much about negeri ni lagi bagus dari negeri itu, because we understand that Johor will continue to be one of the biggest economic drivers in the country, and because of that the allocation too will continue. And most importantly, some of the key sectors that we want to focus that offer higher value, Johor has more potential than other states. So I don't think there's any disagreement about that. On ports infrastructure, Johor punya ports ni privately owned. Jadi I don't really get. Yalah, I'm trying to understand. Unless we are suggesting that governments put money into privately held ports, that's not how it works. Kan, jadi pelabuhan itu is dilihat kepada keperluan masing-masing. Ada pelabuhan yang dimiliki oleh kerajaan, that one proses dia begitulah. Kalau ada keperluan, ada naik taraf, ada debottlenecking, expansion, then it will go through the budgetary process. Tapi for privately owned infrastructure, then it's privately owned infrastructure lah. And so I think that's the case di dalam keadaan di Johor when it comes to ports lah. Kan? So I don't think it's too much an issue when it comes to ports dan sebagainya lah, unless we are suggesting that governments opens different ports yang publicly owned, but that's not the case lah. Di Johor memang is privately owned. Even in Pengerang pun those jetty tu is held, it's basically privately held own jetties kan. Second question tadi in terms of training kan, the direction, in fact instruction has been given supaya we move away from supply driven training cara dulu. Maksudnya ada universiti, ada technical training, kita buat syllabus, benda orang tunggu, orang masuk, and then we deploy kan, to be more towards demand driven. Maksudnya we work very closely with the industry. I know of some of government institutions, training institutions that had been given to private sector, because we understand enough that we require very close involvement of the industry, because the pace which skills develops year after year memang so much faster than the pace that we revise the syllabus. And nowadays training moves away from classroom based, more on the job, and training is done on bite size. It's no longer, you know, classroom kan. Jadi in terms of policy, that is the policy, correct. But of course the issue is how quickly this can take off lah kan. Sebab kita ada model, contohnya macam Penang Skill Development Center. What we are looking at the Kementerian Ekonomi is how to bring this type of training, which is demand driven training and upskilling, and scale it up at the national level, at the national scale. We've run a pilot test. Basically, hello, ada battery kot lah. It's okay. It's under a program called Academy in Industry, meaning that government incentivized industry to train this. Government provide some incentive for trainees to go to training based on the requirements and syllabus by the industry, which is very different from what we used to have. We used to have, you pergi ke vocational ke, you pergi kan, and then dia belajar, habis tu baru dia cari kerja, lepas tu tak ada yang sesuai. Now, because there is a demand daripada industri, cuma we just need to match, but for that to happen, government incentivize lah. What we are looking at now is how to scale up, and we have to decide how much the government can allocate for that, so that then you can scale it up at the national. And I think in the next few years, hopefully, more and more industry takes up this opportunity to train and hire, rather than basically wait for the products to come out of training institutions, and then you find this gap between what you need, the skills you need for them to do, dengan the skill that is provided. So hopefully we are looking at maybe announcing some kind of national level training incentive. We are looking at it, hopefully budget announcement and so on. But directionally, yes, that's the instruction that has been given to training institute, to government departments dan sebagainya. Third question is is about how the being very business friendly, and I mean we get this comment everywhere, not just in Johor lah, basically generally Malaysia lah. The comments are efficiency, implementation and so on. In sectors where we feel the regulation has to be improved, the key sectors, the process partly has been done and is ongoing. I mean, I know I keep talking about renewables, but the speed that we had debottleneck renewables regulation is one of the fastest in the region. Government has reversed the export ban, contohnya. We have allowed for self-contained RE estate, where is on willing seller, willing buyer. Meaning macam ni is like, if you have capacity to do it, you pergi cari your buyer, off-taker, you put up your solar farm and your RE generating estate, they relocate there and you can supply direct without having to go through the grid semua macam dulu before. So in areas where we need to drive because they are strategic in long term, contohnya RE is one example, the deregulation and reversal of policies has happened. Some industry is easier than others. In food production, for example, I think we are going to invite for RFP very quickly for private sector. Government has lands. We've done a few pilot tests in Selangor, in in Putrajaya, to see the financial model of plots of lands that you take people, you letak dia orang, all the facilities are already being prepared. So they have half an acre plot, kan? So that financial model too seems to be working. So we will scale it up by inviting requests for partnership and proposal daripada private sector. That will allow for, dalam sistem kita, I think we are looking at 8,000 ekar kan, I think. 800 hektar. 800 hektar. So far that we have allocated for this is 800 hektar tanah. 8, that's a lot more kan, semua kan? Campur estate semua, ha. All over, and that will allow for private sector, as you say. If your RFP is good, you have a track record, you already run farms or agrotech punya companies, you can come in, have to sign agreement with government on the floor price and how much you have to pay penerima this scheme, people who join this scheme, and you can run. So I think it doesn't work by just saying, governing doesn't work by decree. We do policy change, you deregulate, and that will send signals that these are the focus areas that we want to do. And then you work on specific programs to incentivize, and then we have to look how this is being taken up by the industry kat bawah lah. So I think that will improve as we go along. For Johor per se, Johor is going to benefit a lot. In fact, the biggest beneficiary of some of the policy changes that this government had done, the biggest beneficiary is Johor. So when we allowed cross-border renewable trade, that means we allow renewable export to Singapore, the biggest beneficiary is Johor, because Johor is expected to see the mushrooming of large-scale RE plants, as well as it will accelerate the relocation of factories and manufacturers and data centers from Singapore to Johor. So, but what we are doing is we want to make sure that Johor is as part of a bigger economic region. It's not Johor versus Singapore. It's not Singapore versus Johor. There is an overlap of how Johor and Singapore can grow together, and that's partly. We will discuss and we will develop this concept with Singapore, supaya Johor benefits from the overall growth that Singapore and this region has, rather than sekarang ni is Johor as a state, Singapore as another state. So I close my gate, you close your gate. So now we are looking at how to look at Singapore and Johor as one whole economic collective. There are things that we share, there are things that we benefit from each other, there are things that we support and strengthen each other. And that is a very different change of perspective from how we have dealt with Johor's economic planning before. All this while, we look at it as, you know, it's a zero-sum game. If Singapore gains, Johor will lose out, and vice versa. But I think the way forward, that we want to plan Johor's growth, and by extension Malaysia growth, is to see how to tap into the growth market collectively in a win-win situation. I think as we go along and there will be more announcements in the next few months, then I think there will be more clarity to this concept that we are developing.